So this is my first ever acoustic archtop. I've never owned one before. This is a 1947 L7 and it's been through a bit of a restoration project which I wanted to document in this video. And I also want to talk about whether owning an acoustic archtop is something you should think about or whether we should stick with archtops with pickups. Here's a few tones. So my friend that I play with, he bought this guitar from a dealer and he'd bought it from the States, and it came to me and it initially came with this pickup. This is a McCarthy style floating pickup pickguard all-in-one system by Lollar, a reproduction of the old McCarthy style ones they used to make back in the late 40s, early 50s. Now this pickup system hadn't been fitted particularly well. This is what it sounded like. The guitar also had a non-original tailpiece. Someone had put on a cheap tacky gold style tailpiece. I think the originals would have had nickel. The frets were reasonably worn. The condition of the body is pretty good. Now, I really love blonde archtops, something about them. They usually, you know, reserve the best woods for blonde guitars because there's nowhere to hide in terms of imperfections in them. You got those classic split parallelogram inlays. The modern Gibson logos would be the first year they used that, and you got that nice stripe down the bottom of the stinger. It's single binding. You can see the two F-holes, none cutaway. In terms of restoring it, I've tried to get it playing as well as it can because that's what I want it to do, not just to sit there as a museum piece, and put on parts which are pretty more faithful to how it would have originally been. So I've got this all parts pickguard on here, and this tailpiece, got rid of that awful cheap gold one and something more like what I think it would have had when this guitar was first left the factory. Bridges all stayed original. I have had to do a refret. Kind of could have possibly got away with it for a bit longer, but I figured as it was having all this work done, I might as well bite the bullet, and I'm so glad I did. It's come back playing so much better. And I've used fret wire, which isn't too tall. It's kind of vintage correct. And it feels great. Other things that have changed, obviously the pickup system is now gone. This is now just an acoustic archtop, and the nut had to be replaced too, unfortunately. I am super happy with the results, but it didn't all go as planned. Initially what I'd planned to do was get rid of that McCarthy style pickup and get a de-almond pickup. Now when I took it to the luthier that I use, he wasn't sure about the clearance, and I think it could have come down to 1mm, you know, being the difference, and maybe 2mm, and that was just far too risky for me. And also the way guitars change with the weather in terms of setup, having a guitar where the pickup's only got 1mm, 2mm clearance from the strings, it's just going to need constantly adjusting. And I just thought, do you know what, I think the simplest thing to do with this guitar is just have it back to how it originally left the factory, which is just as an acoustic guitar, and it plays wonderfully just playing open chords. It's really nice. Really nice resonant. Just like it, just as a strumming or even finger picking. Really beautiful sound. And it's just nice having a guitar you can pick up and play and don't have to plug in. And obviously you don't have to plug in, like say the archtop here to play, but its acoustic sound is very lacking compared to this. I mean, listen, if I just play some chords, maybe a bit lead, play something similar. It's a lot smaller, obviously, in the volume because of the two pickups, and I suppose because of the cutaway too, so it's not easy to make a direct comparison, but it's just not as a full, not as nice acoustic sound. This guitar comes alive when it's plugged in and it sounds beautiful, but I found when I'm practicing and don't want to plug in, the acoustic tone itself is not that inspiring. And the L5 I sold was the same. Listen to this. Both killer guitars plugged in, but you do not get good acoustic tone from those kind of guitars. They're not made for that. You'd think for paying the kind of money you do for those guitars it would be the all complete package, but I just don't think it's possible from, unless you've got floating pickups, which then would have a different sound altogether too. This L7 really kicks that guitar into touch in terms of acoustic tone. It's fuller, louder, more resonant. And just more pleasing to play. And I should say this has got Diodario round 12s on it. I might experiment with strings. It's something I've maybe tried bronze strings on this one possibly, but I'm happy so far with these. What I've found about owning an acoustic archtop is they are perfect for just pick up and play and practice. When you've got the spare 10 minutes just to practice, grab a guitar. It's so much easier than not having to plug in or disturb others in the house by the noise of an amp. It's good for taking to rehearsals, and I'm sure I'll use it for recording too. But it's its own sound and it's its own thing that should be celebrated, the acoustic archtop. You think of the early recordings, you think of great rhythm guitarists like Freddie Green, you're really talking about its own thing, and it's for that kind of early swing playing, it's obviously absolutely perfect for that. Yeah, especially that rhythm guitar. Really great for that kind of playing, and I just love that sound, and this guitar is great, but it can't do that in the same way. So I personally feel like this guitar looks great being roughly put back to what it looked like when it left the factory in 1947, and I think I'm really starting to appreciate the merits of an acoustic archtop. I'm kind of glad it worked out in the way it did. Initially I had my heart set on that diamond, but I think it's made me appreciate what this, it's an instrument in its own right, the acoustic archtop, and just that pick up and play aspect of it is just great, and its acoustic tone, as I said, it just wipes the floor with the other archtops I've previously owned, and it's to be something to be enjoyed and cherished on its own. And I love playing chord melody style on it. That's really where I'm sort of working with it most. It's a very simple tool. Yes, I could maybe look at other floating pickups with where the clearance isn't such an issue, but I don't think I'm going to keep it as it is. I think that's one big lesson I've obviously learned from this is really, when you get one of these guitars and you do want to change things around or add a pickup or things like that, you've really got to take it to someone who knows what they're doing in terms of the clearance here and what can be achieved with the way the guitar's set up. I mean, obviously I could have got away with that pickup maybe with a lot higher action, but it wasn't to be on this particular guitar.